So the Wyatt family had promising beginnings of 2016 after the disaster in 2015. Then they were put on the back burner due to injuries and political issues because WWE doesn't know what to do with them. Which I must add that Bray Wyatt literally said this in a podcast just before WrestleMania 32, saying this. When we set out and finally got the call up from NXT to the main roster, we were so different that I don't think the company even knew how to use us. We were so different in the promos, so different in the way we looked and how we moved, and they still don't know how to use us what we are, how to use what we are. Yeah, that's great confidence you have in the WWE management. So, yeah, that was not a good sign. And then with the addition of the Viper, did they finally get some momentum, and heading into 2017, they look poised to dominate a big main storyline on the SmackDown roster. So, heading into 2016, the Wyatt family were teasing a feud with Brock Lesnar. Like, it led to a final week before Royal Rumble where the Wyatt family attacked both Reigns and then surprisingly Brock Lesnar. But before that, the Wyatts hinted a face turn when Vince McMahon ordered all the wrestlers to go after Roman Reigns. The Wyatt family just stood by the sidelines and Wyatt whispering in their ears, basically telling them, do not go follow their orders, do not listen to the machine. And that would have been an interesting moment. That was a subtle, interesting moment. I'm surprised the commentators, the camera, or Vince McMahon didn't really put focus on that. So, were they hinting that the Wyatt family was going to go to war against Triple H and the Authority? That would be awesome. Sadly, that most likely will never happen. But it couldn't hurt to dream. But instead, we were getting Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt. This led to the Wyatt family attacking a week before the Royal Rumble, where they made a surprising attack on, well, Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman was all shocked, and I was like, okay, I don't know how good the match will be. That will usually depend on how they book Bray Wyatt, but the promos will be gold. Because this is Bray Wyatt we're talking about. This is Paul Heyman we're talking about. But, and I said this in a previous video, like that I don't know what the match quality would be, but the presentation and how it gets built up would be interesting. And that lies one particular problem. The match never happened. And I know we're going to get to the roadblock in a bit, but all four Wyatt members of the Wyatt family entered the 2016 Royal Rumble, which was for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and the group cumulatively eliminated 7 wrestlers, including Brock Lesnar, who had eliminated all 3 members of the Wyatt family besides Bray Wyatt. And there were 2 things I liked from this pay-per-view, other than the Wyatt family's dominance. And actually there's one big thing that really made me like, it was when Bray Wyatt got into the face of Triple H. And Triple H is like, come on, man. You know what will happen. And it looked like he didn't want to fight Bray Wyatt. Instead, Bray Wyatt decided and tried to convince Wyatt to go after Roman Reigns. But instead, Wyatt was like, nah, fuck it. And just proceeded to start attacking Triple H until Sheamus made the shave. But ultimately, they would go on to lose the match. So afterwards, the Wyatt families are in limbo for a bit. Bray Wyatt gets scheduled to face Brock Lesnar at Roadblock. The original plan was going to be Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So when I heard it was going to be at Roadblock, I was thinking, okay, either A, they're going to do the match, or B, they're going to wait and just pull some BS on us. But before Roadblock, we got another hint of Bray Wyatt versus Triple H when Bray Wyatt stared down Triple H with these sadistic open wide eyes, and then he just stroked the WWE World Championship like it was, my precious will be mine. So, you could say, if they ever did do a Triple H versus Bray Wyatt storyline with the whole Authority had still went down, you can make Bray Wyatt act like Sauron from Lord of the Rings, just ravage the WWE with his followers just to get the WWE title, his precious, because he knows how powerful that thing is. So, yeah, I would not complain about that. Like, if anyone holds the WWE Championship, I gotta give you a warning. When the time comes when Bray Wyatt is planning to go after it, yeah, it's gonna be a really epic roller coaster of disaster. Basically, Heath Ledger's Joker. So, at Roadblock, Bray Wyatt's match is up next, and it's a 2-on-1 handicap match again with Harper involved. Yep, I called it. And Wyatt never returned to the ring or got involved. Luke Harper did most of the work, and then Brock Lesnar beat him. So, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. No one was saying otherwise. There were two reasons why they did this. One, they wanted to save it for a future match date because they felt like Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar should have been on the bigger stage, which begs the question why they didn't just add him into the Dean Ambrose feud with Brock Lesnar. That would have made a triple threat hardcore match. It was then reported that Wyatt was likely replaced in the match due to a serious back injury that he was legitimately suffering from. Okay, that makes sense. So afterwards, I was pissed off extensively because that was the worst match of the night. But then I understood. Oh, okay, he's injured. But then that would lead to the question of what happened at WrestleMania 32. But I'll get to that when I get to that. On March 21st, something tragic happened. Luke Harper suffered a knee injury during a Raw Dark match. It was reported that the injury would sideline him for 5 to 6 months. And after getting an MRI scan, it was revealed that he had dislocated his patella. I don't know these medical terms, so yeah, and tore his ligament. So, yeah. So that meant that they were out of the picture for a while, and they lost their most talented member of the group. So, with nothing going on for the Wyatt family, what are they going to do? Like, I was pissed off that they weren't part of WrestleMania season, and then they appeared at WrestleMania during the Rock segment, and I was excited for this because they could hint at a match in the future if the Rock ever decided to do this. But at the same time, considering who this is, yeah, I'm pretty sure Wyatt's is gonna be horribly massacred on the mic. And sure enough, Wyatt was horribly massacred on the mic. And then it led to an impromptu 6-second match, which I highly doubt, and I hardly want to call that a match. The Rock defeated Eric Rowan, which begs the question: why didn't Wyatt do the match? And then people might say, "Oh, well, it's because he was injured." Well, that could have been the case, but then they have The Rock attack Bray Wyatt, and John Cena gets involved, which I was pissed off about because I was like, "Okay, yep, that makes sense." So, and then The Rock did the people's elbow and the pile drive, not the pile driver. Uh, I'm trying to remember the name. It's been a long time since I last saw it, right? But anyways, and it was all on Bray Wyatt's back. So what gives? If Bray Wyatt was really hurt, then why would they do this just to worsen it? Like, I don't think it would have lasted. I don't think it would have healed up that quickly. So, yeah, Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar, they were reportedly very frustrated with the creative team. Like, they were told, yeah, you're going to do this big match and whatnot. And the match never happens. So they want to know what's going on. Like, if Brock Lesnar's not happy, then WWE has a problem. And this also leads to a bigger question. Why wasn't Bray Wyatt booked stronger beforehand? Like, why didn't he win his Survivor Series match with The Undertaker? Why didn't he get a better build-up? Instead, it would just look like Bray Wyatt's fangs were chipped, and they were saying, "Hey, let's go out to the beast because we're ill-equipped, we're unprepared, we're not booked strong enough." That'd be like doing the Suicide Mission without all the proper equipment in Mass Effect 2. So the night after WrestleMania, the Wyatt family started a brief feud with the League of Nations by attacking the heel faction that was never explained, and of April 11th episode of Raw, the Wyatt family confronted and scared off the League of Nations when they were about to attack Roman Reigns, with whom Wyatt tagged with to defeat members Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. And this led to a tease of Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns again, And then also, like, this was like bitter enemies could be unlikely allies. Like, I was liking this direction. I was liking the fact that, oh, Bray Wyatt's turning face. Oh, that might actually lead to them getting better booking. Albeit a little stale, probably, later down the road. But hey, at least they'll get better booking. And then something terrible started to happen. 2 days later, during a singles match with Reigns at a live event in Italy, Wyatt suffered an injury at his right calf. Actually pulled a muscle in his right calf and was thus pulled from the European tour. His injury resulted in an abrupt suspension of the feud and the breakup of the League of Nations, because that was the plan. And this led to Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan to do nothing but jobs to Kane and Big Show on main event. And they were also advertised heavily on the payback posters and advertisements, but none of the members had a match at the event, so that was disappointing. And then we had to wait for a while until we saw Bray Wyatt again, and thus the return of the Wyatt family. And on June 20th episode of Raw, the Wyatt family without Harper returned for the first time since April and were confronted by the then WWE Tag Team Champions, The New Day. And this really started a feud with them, and I really did like this feud. Like, this was an awesome feud, I'll give them that. Because it made the New Day stand out with another layer to them. Like, this has been the most interesting the New Day were at this point, because they were becoming incredibly stale as a face group. Like, they weren't as bad as the initial face run they were given, because three black stereotypes who preach and whatnot is kind of really stupid. But yeah, but like after their heel run where they were the most entertaining, the New Day just kind of staled a bit. So when I saw they were feuding with the Wyatt family, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then Xavier Woods gets all possessed by Bray Wyatt a lot, and oh boy, it was entertaining. And it especially led to a copy of the Broken Hardys' Final Deletion program, where the Wyatt family were attacked by the New Day at the compound, and the Wyatt family's destructive force against the New Day's power of positivity. Yeah, that made the entertaining of the compound even more fun. But I was disappointed to see that they didn't turn face like they were originally going to. But as heels, okay, like it looked like the Wyatt family were going to turn face and get called out by a heel group, though they didn't really have any heel groups because Bray Wyatt says, "Did you miss us?" So yeah, it seemed like the fans wanted to see the Wyatt family, and the Wyatt family wanted to see them, mostly Bray Wyatt. And this would lead to a six-man tag team match not for the tag team titles. And the Wyatt family, well, okay, if it would have had Luke Harper involved, if he didn't get injured, then the match probably would have been a lot better. But in storyline, like, yeah, the Wyatt family won the match. It was pretty okay at best. And then afterwards, on July 19th, a week before Battleground, the Wyatt family were split up. Wyatt and Rowan were drafted to SmackDown, while Strowman was drafted to Raw, separating him from the group. And this led to a match. This led to Bray Wyatt in limbo for a bit. Like, he didn't have a match at SummerSlam, and then Braun Strowman goes ahead and becomes this monster on Raw and defeats a bunch of jobbers. The first one being James Ellsworth, who, well, we all know how that worked out for him. However, for Bray Wyatt, he was in limbo for a bit heading into SummerSlam, so he didn't have a match at SummerSlam, which was disappointing. And then you got a tease a week prior when Bray Wyatt was in limbo. He fought with Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose when Rowan returned, and this led to them having a feud for a bit. And then on August 16th episode of SmackDown Live, Wyatt walked away from Rowan after he had lost a match against Dean Ambrose, leaving Rowan's sheep mask on a rocking chair. So yeah, I was wondering, wait, where are they going to go with this? Are they breaking up or something? But despite this, on the September 13th episode of SmackDown Live, I'll get to that in a bit, After the whole Wyatt family seemingly split up, Bray Wyatt was in limbo again. And then a week prior to SummerSlam, before all this shit went down, Bray Wyatt teased a confrontation with Orton during their entrance, where they stared at each other like, "Yeah, it's on, bitch." But let's go beforehand and talk about Randy Orton, since this also involves him now that he's part of the Wyatt family. Heading into SummerSlam, Randy Orton had returned from injury, and ironically, this was because of the Wyatts in storyline terms, but it was mostly because Randy Orton was taking out the trash and he got injured. Yeah, that sounds really absurd, doesn't it? Randy Orton would feud with Brock Lesnar, and on Battleground, he returned officially in official capacity by appearing on the highlight reel, where he said, "No enhancement needed." Because Brock Lesnar was having all this controversy about him regarding the UFC return and how that turned out. So, and this led to Wyatt versus. So they're teasing the Wyatt family versus Randy Orton, and I was hoping that like Randy Orton would finally do the legendary RKO that fans have been clamoring for, the F5 to RKO maneuver. We didn't get that at SummerSlam. Like they could have attempted to, though I get if they didn't want to risk Randy Orton getting injured, and that didn't really work out for them because Brock Lesnar injured him anyways. Because Brock Lesnar took shots at Randy Orton on his head with elbows and stiff shots to the head, leading him to bleeding profusely, which was okay. I get that's awesome, but if this was a blood capsule, then that would make more sense. But this is a laceration, and we see an image of the laceration on the internet later on the night after. So yeah, while it was awesome to see a wrestler bleed, I would have preferred blood capsules instead of actual bleeding and thus getting a concussion. So yeah. So afterwards, Bray Wyatt looks to resurrect himself once again, and and calls out Randy Orton, and this leads to a feud between them. And then later on, despite this, on September 13th episode of SmackDown Live, well, this led to them having a match at Backlash, which never happened because Randy Orton had a concussion at the time. So, yeah. Meanwhile, Braun Strowman is just doing nothing but attacking jobbers and demanding an actual challenge. So, yeah, nothing really happened for Braun Strowman for a while. The action was mostly happening on SmackDown Live for the Wyatt family. So, Eric Rowan returned to attack Randy Orton on behalf of Wyatt to continue their alliance and to cement his loyalty to him. And Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt at Backlash, that never happened because Kane got involved and Randy Orton still had a concussion thanks to Brock Lesnar, so they had to change plans again. And this led to a really confusing whole, why is Kane involved in this feud? But, okay. And October 9th, during the brand of No Mercy, and I still will to this day complain why on earth did they have Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton close out the show. It was average. It wasn't really special because, one, it made no sense to have it as the main event. The audience was dead at this point because they had just witnessed two stellar performances. So, yeah, they should have not went on last. So, Luke Harper would return at No Mercy and help distracted Orton to help Wyatt win the match, thus realigning himself with Wyatt. And it was reported that prior to Harper's return, Rowan underwent surgery to repair a torn rotator cuff and would be out of action for 4 to 6 months. Now, that ends Eric Rowan's 2016. This led to... There were some Twitter videos he uploaded where he's burying the sheep masks, where I'm wondering, is he breaking up from the Wyatt family afterwards when he gets back? Because that would be actually a disaster for him, because really, what does Rowan have to offer besides the Wyatt family? to the management of WWE? I thought so. Because Luke Harper has something to offer after he leaves the Wyatt family. Bray Wyatt has something to offer after he leaves the Wyatt family. So, what does Rowan have that Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt don't have? I could be wrong, but so far it doesn't look like that he has anything to offer. And then on October 25th episode of SmackDown Live, we got a plot twist during the Bray Wyatt versus Kane feud, which for some reason was still happening. Bray Wyatt got helped by Randy Orton after Luke Harper tried to help, and for some reason Luke Harper stared at Orton and then just got out of the ring, leaving Wyatt to Kane and Orton. So what if Orton didn't turn to the dark side again? That would have just made everything uncomfortable. So, yeah, I'd question that. And also, let me get back to before Rowan got hurt. They did this segment where Orton is following Wyatt's clues everywhere, and this leads to a confusing end to the segment where Randy Orton attacks Bray Wyatt and then puts on the sheet mask and sings he got the whole world in his hands. And then suddenly the camera just morphs into Bray Wyatt, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, WWE, could you explain? Like, over here. Okay, yeah, you have the floor. How did that happen? Like, what just happened? Like, did they hint that Randy Orton was turning? Is he becoming Bray Wyatt? Is he going to a dark path? What just happened? Like, I don't get what happened. But they never explained that whatsoever. They never answered that. In fact, the commentators seemingly ignore that one problem. Even though, so what was that, error or something? It didn't look like an error. So, what happened? But anyways, back on October 25th, Orton interfered on Wyatt's behalf in his match in a no DQ match against Kane. And on November 1st edition of SmackDown Live, Wyatt and Harper helped Orton win in his respective match against Kane, thus confirming his allegiance to the group. And meanwhile, Braun Strowman, he's demanding more competition since he just beat up 3 guys who were jobbers. So he's now threatening to destroy everybody in his path. So this leads to Sami Zayn coming out to challenging him. And this is also the same night when Goldberg would return. So, yeah, that's going to be made for an interesting storyline. Oh, no, wait, it's delayed right now. We're going to wait till after Survivor Series. So, Bray Wyatt offered Orton a place in the group, much to Luke Harper's dissatisfaction, and this led to an interesting frothing at the mouth. Luke Harper, like, I wanted Wyatt's attention. Like, they're being mature about this in storyline, but this was done on Raw. They would have screwed it up so bad. They could have had Orton and Harper be like little children saying, I wanted his attention. No, I wanted his attention. No, I wanted his attention. But instead, like, they work together. They help each other out from time to time. So, yeah, like, Harper would give subtle hints that he's not happy that Bray Wyatt's favoring Orton over Harper. But, yeah, he has to, get over it. So, yeah, afterwards, this would lead to the Wyatt family now becoming stronger than ever. And meanwhile, Braun Strowman is now part of a main storyline with Team Raw, and Braun Strowman says that he's on Team Braun. So, yeah, that was going to be interesting how he's going to factor in. And on the 30th annual Survivor Series, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton were the sole survivors for Team SmackDown in the traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match after Orton saved Wyatt from a spear from Roman Reigns. Now, prior to that big moment, because that mirrored the whole Wyatt family versus Shield match at Elimination Chamber a few years prior, Braun Strowman was involved in this match, and Bray Wyatt tried to sway him back to his side, which led to Braun looking like he was going to turn back to the Wyatt family, but then turned on Wyatt and saying he's on Team Braun. And then Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton would help Shane McMahon co-work together to eliminate Braun Strowman with the help of James Ellsworth as well. Yeah, that's gotta be sad if you're eliminated by James Ellsworth of all people. Like, granted, it took the combined efforts of Shane McMahon, not Luke Harper, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt to keep you down, but it took James Ellsworth to make you stay outside of the ring. Which makes the question: isn't Braun Strowman stronger than him? Couldn't he have just lifted him off the out of the ring, out of the underneath the ring, and pulled him out? Oh wait, he did that. That makes it even more confusing. Yeah, I didn't get that, but I understood that yes, they had to make Braun Strowman look strong, even though they didn't make Nia Jax look strong, even though they really should have. So yeah, and anyways, so after this, the Wyatt family and Braun Strowman move on, and the Wyatt family go ahead and become #1 contenders after defeating American Alpha, because at this time, Randy Orton's wife is giving birth to his child. I can't recall if it's a son or daughter. I think I heard it was a daughter. I could be wrong on that. So they did a recorded segment together asked Survivor Series to build up for the tag team match the following week against American Alpha, so they could get the opportunity to face for the tag team championships at TLC. And boy, was I glad that happened. But back to Braun Strowman. He's just, well, he punished Sami Zayn, absolutely destroyed him, and then said, I don't care about this guy. Like, he's just a pest to him. And oh boy, this led to Sami Zayn dominating this feud this whole time because his promos mostly were gold. I like to beat Braun Strowman, that's actually possible. So, anyways, the Wyatt family became #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships of SmackDown after defeating American Alpha, and they went on to defeat Heath Slater and Rhino for the titles at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. And I was like, yes! Wyatt finally won his first title on WWE! It's beautiful! So beautiful. I was so happy for Bray Wyatt to finally let him see winning his first ever tag team title belt, and also ultimately his first belt overall, because even when he was in the Nexus, when he was Husky Harris, still surprised that was him. Uh, he never held a title. So, like, you could say, oh, well, he held one in FCW, but that's not WWE. And even then, they barely acknowledged FCW. Like, they would give snippets of it, but yeah, they never really acknowledged that place's existence on main programming. So, like, they go ahead, win the tag team belts, and defeat the champions again in a rematch. And then the following day, it's announced that the Wyatt family invoked the Freebird rule, allowing Luke Harper to also defend the championship. But before we get to that, Braun Strowman finally gets a match with Sami Zayn after Sami Zayn managed to coerce Mick Foley into doing so. This time with a 10-minute time limit, and I was like, okay, Sami Zayn's going to win this match, and Braun Strowman's still going to look strong. Okay, I get that. And this led to Sami Zayn beating Braun Strowman after beating the 10-minute mark. So, and it looked like Sami Zayn was going to beat Braun Strowman for a second there, but instead Braun Strowman is still standing, and Sami Zayn's still standing. And Braun Strowman's been really entertaining at times. Like, he's just been so entertaining on this. But right now, he needs to get that big standout performance, which we would later get in the first which we will most likely get in the first SmackDown the first Raw of 2017 during his last man standing match with Sami Zayn. But I can't talk about that because this is 2016. So, yeah. That pretty much ends Braun Strowman's year since he went on a rampage and demanded a match with Sami Zayn. Mick Foley didn't want to give it to him, and Braun Strowman later destroyed tag team, single competitors, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, and Chris Jericho running around like cowards. Even though I could get Chris Jericho doing it, but Kevin Owens, yeah, he would go down fighting. And that pretty much ends it right there. Like, he demands a last man standing match from Stephanie McMahon. She grants him it. So, yeah. That would take place on the first Raw of 2017. And the Wyatt family, on the final SmackDown episode of 2016, they would lose their tag team titles to American Alpha, because originally the plan was Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley to fight Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, but then they had to change plans again because Zack Ryder got injured. So yeah, I was glad American Alpha won the tag team belts. I thought they were the the logical choice to take place afterwards. But yeah, I felt like they should have held the belts a lot longer, like until if I was to make my best assumption, Elimination Chamber, where Bray Wyatt is attacked by Randy Orton, and this leads to a WrestleMania match between the two. So we could have that, and the American Alpha gets the title reign, and then Bray Wyatt gets a long title reign, or at least a solid one. That would have been a lot better for me, but well, SmackDown, I was surprised by this. Like, I'm not gonna say if I was against it or not. We'll see how the storyline goes. But that ultimately ends the Wyatt family and Braun Strowman's 2016. Overall, it was, like I said, a recovery year with the addition of Randy Orton. It really took it to high gear. Man, I can't wait what's gonna happen for 2017. Like, I'm hoping Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton have a stellar match this time, and this time hopefully a WrestleMania where Wyatt would finally get his big WrestleMania moment instead of being buried repeatedly and then not being on the show at all. So, those are my thoughts on the Wyatt Family's 2016. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more. And last but not least, run!